everybody, this is Joshua Hatton with One Nation Under Whisky. I'm joined today, and as always, by my good friend and business partner, Jason Neal, Patrick Harris, Johnston, Yellen. And today we are bringing a bit of Single Cask Nation news to you and some recap. We've been traveling overseas, and so we wanted to bring a little recap to you. How you doing, Jason?
Yeah, well, ready to get a little recap action here, a little bottle news. You and I were just chatting a little bit before we hit record here, and it's incredible how there's always something to be reporting. There's always a new bit of news, and so as we kind of got our list made up here, I think you had just said to me, like, there's a few things to cover here, and it's always true. So where to begin? Where would you like to start?
Oh man, I think let's start. Oh yeah. Let's get the business.
I didn't think it was a difficult question to be honest.
Right, because there's so much, right? As we're making this list, we're like, ooh, we got to talk about this. Ooh, we got to talk about that. Ooh, right. And it builds. Let's get some of the business out of the way, because we've had some questions about some of our online releases. We're just, a month ago we talked about our March releases and what the beginning of the year would look like. And we're about to release our March bottlings, and it's different from what we said. So let's get that business out of the way, and then let's share some news of our travels, of our time in Scotland. How's that sound?
Okay.
Yeah. So listeners may remember in our last episode, we had announced that we were going to be releasing for U.S. online bottlings, right? We were going to be releasing 3 bottlings per month, March, April, and May. And I think at that time, I haven't listened back to that episode in a little bit, but I think at that time we announced it, at the very least, what we would be releasing in March. And thanks be to the gods of shipping, of sea freight, which I guess not thanks be, Jason. What do we say? Damned be to the gods of ocean freight. We have to adjust our release schedule, right?
Yeah, we're not alone in that either, but we are the ones in charge of Single Cask Nation.
Yeah. So what we're going to do today is we're going to announce what our March bottlings are going to look like, what our April bottlings are going to look like, and our May bottlings. So come Thursday, March 27th, that will see the release of our 10-year-old Tormore, which was 6 years in bourbon. And the label will say 4 years first fill American oak. But when you taste it, you will see there's a big sherry influence on this one. And the ABV on this was quite high. I think that was 63.2% on that baby, if memory serves.
Well, if we're talking Joshua Hatton's memory, this is unimpeachable. So
yeah, right. It's completely accurate, flawless, bulletproof. So there's that one, and then the other would be our 9-year-old Ardnamurchan, which is first fill bourbon and peated this time. Our last one was a 5-year-old in sherry and unpeated. So we're gaining 4 years on this one. We're switching casks to bourbon, and we're doing peated. And that one's 64.9% alcohol. And the beautiful thing about both of these bottlings, Jason, I'll let you do this one. You do the honors with this one, Jason.
Is this both $100?
$100 for each bottling.
Unless, and I learned this during the tasting videos that we recorded and put on the YouTubes, unless you bundle them. You buy the day of release bundle, you get them for $180.
Right? Yeah, they end up being $90 each.
I've said this for years and years and years and years. We're in the business of selling whiskey, and yet there are moments when I just think, that's a cracking deal. If I wasn't in the business of selling it, I would be in the business of buying it, because that is That's really tremendous. And again, instead of patting ourselves on the back or blowing our own trumpet, I always like to put it back on the nation and say, nation, this is in honor of all of you. This is in celebration of a decade and a half almost. I'm doing a Joshua Hatton roundup here. Almost a decade and a half of support. And in 2025, we can put a 10-year-old Tormore and a 9-year-old Ardnamurchan competed into someone's hands for $90 a bottle if purchased together. That's a celebration of the nation, however you cut it. And I'm really proud of that. Really, really proud of that. Yeah. And we've never been salesmen, right? We've never done this to put dollar bills in the bank. I could show you the evidence, but it's a lot of zeros. But yeah, this is something to be proud of, and this is something worth shouting about. So yeah, cheers! Yeah. Really happy with that. Well done, Team Nation.
Yeah, and just one other thing to add on for the March releases. I like that you brought in the bit about the bundle, right? Which is the Tormore and the Ardnamurchan together, and you get each bottle for $90 each, right? $180 for the pair. We're also launching 3 other bundles to go along with that, which will include the new bottlings as well, right? So if you're more interested in the Ardnamurchan because you want that peated bottling, we've got a bundle that includes the Ardnamurchan and the Kalila. We call that the Sweet Peat bundle.
Oh, nice. Yeah, very nice.
Right, you get that for 210 bottles for the pair. You're saving $30 across 2 bottles.
210 bottles for the pair?
Did I say 210 bottles? No. Yeah, you are not going to get 210 bottles.
Just to be clear, legal called and said, could you make sure Joshua is not giving away 210 bottles for a pair? So buy 2, get 208 free.
Dollars.
Now that's a bargain.
Dollars. Yeah, dollars. Right. So the Ardnamurchan and our Kalila 14, right? So you're saving $30 across 2 bottles, which is
that's really nice.
Not too shabby. And then let's say you don't love peat. You love sherry. We have our new Tormore paired up with our Aberfeldy. Those together would normally be $210. You'd get them for $185, right? So you're saving $25 across that pair. And then finally, the other bundle is our Ardmore 25 with our Ardnamurchan 9-year-old. And so normally, if you both Highland Peat, if you were to buy those individually, add up the dollars, they'd normally be $375. You get them as a bundle, it's $330. You're saving $45 across the 2, right? So,
and at that price point, you automatically get free shipping. You're already over the $300 at that point. So, those are nice bundles. I like the sound of those.
Not so
well
bad.
Done.
Not so bad. So, all right. So that's March out of the way. Really quickly, I just want to highlight what we're doing in April and what we're doing in May, and then I want to talk about friends. I want to talk about a whiskey series. I want to talk about a whiskey festival, and all that. But let's talk about April and May for our U.S. releases. In April, and again, this will be towards the end of April. We will be releasing our Lochranza, which is from the Isle of, you may know them from the Isle of Arran. That's their brand.
Yeah, to be clear, there's no secrets there. I know that's a different name from the name we've used previously. The distillery has made an update to that name. So we're getting used to describing it as Lochranza. It remains what we've always called the Isle of Arran distillery. For them, they've now got Lag as well as Lochranza. So it gives them a point of difference on the island, and we'll get used to saying it. I will say, call it what you want, our Arrans have historically sold fantastically well.
Agreed. And this is
and they've been delicious every time.
And this is a peated bourbon cask, if memory serves.
Correct.
Which I'm really excited for. Big fruity one. And then here's one where we had to be cheeky with the name. We've got a 15-year-old sherry cask, Rosary Burn. Do you want to talk about that name, Rosary Burn, Jason?
It's the water source for a certain distillery that shall remain nameless. But it's a distillery that we're huge fans of, and historically huge fans of. We've told stories about going to Scotland, pouring this distillery for people at the first stop, and it's the distillery they ask for every stop along the way. So really, really pleased with it. And in sherry especially.
What I like about this one too is even though it's Spanish sherry, there's this lovely floral note to it, which connects to that rosary burn. I think of roses. I think that floral kind of thing going on. For me personally, I connect that nose to the name, and I'm really excited for that one. So we'll be talking more details in another episode about those. Let's move on to May, and here's where I'm going to get like stupidly excited. Firstly, we've got our Blacksboat Bridge coming out. Sherry cask matured. People they go nuts for our Blacksboat Bridge bottlings. That's 12 or 13 years. I think it's 13 years, correct?
No, it would have to be 12.
Like I said, it's 12 years, right?
It would have to be.
And then we've got our 13-year-old Glencadam, which is in a Richard sherry cask.
You refuse to use STR now? You're like, we are going old school. We're going back to basics.
Well, because here's the thing, Jason. That, in my mind, is not even the most important bit about this. The most important bit about this is it reminds me of 80s Bowmore. Mm-hmm. This is FWP Glencadam. It is off the hook. Like, it is so damn good.
Yeah, there's a lot more to say about that when the time comes, and we will say a lot about it. Speaking of saying a lot about these releases, we did put the Tormore, the Ardnamurchan on YouTube. That's the home of the tasting videos.
Ah, yes.
When April comes, when May comes, those pairs of bottles will get their chance to have their tasting videos on the YouTubes. But the thing you taught me, Joshua.
Oh, whoa! I taught you something.
Well, you talk about it all the time. Mm-hmm. One must subscribe to Single Cask Nation YouTube channel. One must. One. It's an imperative. It must happen.
Yeah.
And then you'll get notifications when said tasting videos come out. And I have to say, tasting that Tormore and tasting that Ardnamurchan peated, pleasure. Absolute pleasure on both of those casks. Really wonderful. So there you go. Little nod to the old YouTubes from our podcast.
Can I ask you a question, Jason?
Always.
What was it like sitting in the Scotsman Theatre, front row, amongst industry friends, independent bottlers, writers, you name it, watching a series about independent bottlers?
It was awesome. That's a word that when I say it back in Scotland, folk go, "You live in America now," and I have to say that experience lived up to the very best of what that word has to offer. The experience was awesome, and there was camaraderie, and there was joking, and there was, hey, that's you up there, and hey, that's you back there, and it was such a lovely moment. Greg, Guy, their teams did fantastically well, and I know there were reports that they were conducting interviews up until we actually took our seats. What did they say? They must have done ballpark 60 sets of interviews.
Yeah, 60. I want to say the number was 63, but let's call it 60.
I don't know why you would try to be that accurate, but 60 there or thereabouts was what they said. And it showed, right? Yeah. There were so many wonderful people talking about the history of independent bottling, the future of independent bottling, the difficulties of independent bottling, the joys of independent bottling. It was, it really celebrated the corner of the industry we joined in 2011.
Yeah.
And in celebrating that, for me, it shone a light on why we joined this corner of the industry.
Yeah.
And it was just so much fun. So much fun. And then if I may be so bold as to add on, that was industry on the Friday. On the Saturday, consumers, passionate independent bottling fans got to see all 4 episodes, all 4 30-minute episodes in Leith, and then wander into an independent bottlers festival. And that only added to the experience.
Yeah.
To go from here, we are sitting with industry on the Friday, having a lovely time, saying, oh, there you are, and well said, and blah, blah, blah. Now on the Saturday, consumers, fans were excited to be amongst independent bottlers who they had just seen on the screen, whose stories they had just heard about. So all of it was uplifting.
Yeah.
Jess, having Jess be a part of it, having Steve come over from West Coast America, being there with the ASC team, being there with members of SMWS. It was just fantastic all around. I really mean it. And for you, very different experience for you.
Very different. It was, just painful from the very beginning.
Challenge.
This
again.
Belly aching. No. So let's, for some of our listeners who may be thinking, what are they talking about? Let me rewind a little bit. For those who may not fully grasp what we're talking about, in mid-March, Jason, Steve, and I flew out to Scotland. We met up with Jess. We met up with the ASC team, the Artisanal Spirits team, and our sister brand, Scotch Malt Whisky Society and J.G. Thompson, for the premiere of Independent Spirits, which is a series about independent bottling. And it was put together by the same director and production company as that put out the Water of Life film, which hopefully everybody knows we've partnered with in the past and had done some bottlings with, right? So I just want to catch everybody up, and so it was the premiere of that series, which as you pointed out, Jason, it was industry folk on the Friday watching it, and then on the Saturday, this is the part that I loved, and you pointed it out. The punters, the people who were going to enjoy the festival got to watch the series before they visited the festival to get a full understanding of exactly what independent bottling was, in case they didn't already know. I imagine a lot of them knew what it was already. But they watched the 4 episodes and then they unleashed them into the festival. And it was the first time where here we are at a whiskey festival and everybody behind the table is an independent bottler, right? And I think there were 30-ish tables, give or take. And everybody in front of the table knew what an independent bottler was. And there wasn't a single time where someone had said, what is an independent bottler? We didn't have to have that conversation. We were able to just talk about liquid. We're able to talk about casks, why we picked it, where the flavors are coming from.
Yeah, and I think one of the strengths of the series is it shows why independent bottlers independently bottle. And it very quickly bypasses the myth of why would I get the knockoff version from you when I can get the original from the producer.
Yeah.
And I thought the series did a terrific job of showing you might get a different version of that distillery. You might get a different perspective on that distillery. You might get a different cask influence from that distillery.
Yeah.
None of it was presented as, why would you do this? It was all presented as, it's hard to imagine this full whiskey industry without independent bottling.
Yeah.
It adds to the industry. And I really did. I commended Greg Swartz and Guy Satchwell. Just like we're the J team, they must be the GS team, right? You can only be a GS to co-direct
Holy cow.
an independent bottler film.
I hadn't even thought about that. Oh my gosh, amazing.
So I said to them early and often, thank you, thank you, thank you. And as we stood in the festival hall, and I could see on Greg's face, he had that look of a man who thought, oh boy, a whole bunch of disparate parts have come together in this singular moment, right? Think about 60 plus interviews. Think about 3-4 plus years of interviewing. Even the impetus for this series came from excess footage that they had from the Water of Life film. So imagine bringing that vision through the years, and now you've got independent bottlers on board with you. Now you've got independent bottling fans on board with you. Now they're all standing in the same hall, having watched the same series.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. And he really did. He looked like a man. Greg doesn't often look like a deer in headlights. He's often a man with a plan. He's thinking about, he's a director, right? He's a good director. He's thinking, okay, what needs to happen next here? And for one of the very first times, I caught him just kind of looking around himself, wide-eyed, taking it all in. And it's a hell of a thing they achieved. Absolutely wonderful. Kudos to the whole team. It's always a pleasure working with them all.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, I could not have said it better, and I won't even try. So some things I want to add, however, while you were behind the table, or actually really in front of the table as well, right?
It was quite a wide bar top.
Yeah. Working with Jess, and of course, our good friend Chris Swede-Scott Hallstrom was helping us.
100%.
While you guys were working the table, I was out and about talking with punters, talking with producers. I even got Guy Satchwell on tape, and I just wanted to get a pulse, right? Get a temperature. What did people think of the series? What did people think of the event? And so I've got multiple interviews that I'm going to stitch together for a future episode of the podcast.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that. I'm curious about the tenor within the room, because I know the people that were coming by our corner of the space were effusive in their own praise of the series. And I think I've told this story to multiple people since it happened, but I haven't put it on wax.
All right.
But it was really interesting. As much as we had 3 of our new global retail releases on the counter. We had our Ben Riach, we had a Tormore from over there, and that's a new charred oak Tormore.
Yes,
which went over fantastically well. And we had a Williamson as well,
which was also new charred oak. It was like a refill new char. Yeah, it was like a rechar. Yeah,
rechar on that. But Williamson really shines through in that.
Yeah, sure.
So as much as we had some nice, fun, brand new, gosh, they had been filled on the Tuesday and we poured them on the Saturday. They weren't even in stores. We were able to sell at the venue. People were taking those home. It was very exciting. But we also had a few golden oldies there. And in honor of Jess, I made sure that we had the Westland with us.
Of course.
And this was the global release Westland for retail.
The Banyuls cask.
The Banyuls, very well said. Yeah. And the number of people who I would say, well, here's a wee thing for you. Here's a wee off the beaten path for you. And they would taste it. They would love it. I would tell them about American single malt whiskey. I would tell them about Seattle. I would tell them about the Banyuls. Not a single person turned up their nose at American single malt whiskey being poured in Edinburgh. In fact, they were like, tell me more. Give me more information. I want to know more about this distillery. And the number of people who then purchased a bottle after just experiencing it for the very first time at this independent bottling festival, that for me captured the mood of the event. Right? Knowledgeable whiskey fans looking to add to their repertoire, not to just swim in the same pool, to mix metaphors. And I do apologize, but I loved that. Like, even at the best of festivals, you pour someone an American single malt whiskey, they hum and they haw and they get on the back foot. And even if they liked it, well, it's clearly not as good as Scotch. And it's like, none of those are the conversations that you need to be having around this. And at the Independent Bottlers Festival, I thought people warmed to it, received it in the way one would hope. It was a very, very exciting moment, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I loved that we poured those 3 new whiskeys, and we've got, a few other casks coming out as well. So for those living outside of the US, please, start looking around. You'll see some of our newer releases, of course, hitting UK shops because we bottle in the UK, and then some of our other markets.
Yeah, can I add the 3 that we didn't pour?
Yeah, please do.
Just so we've got the 3 that we did. So we poured the Benriach 2008 in PX, which was awesome. The Tormore 2014, which was in the New Charred Oak, phenomenal. And the Williamson 2014, which is recharred. If you're looking, we're also going to have a Glenallachie 2012 in Oloroso, a Lochranza, our friends on the Isle of Arran. That's going to be an unpeated 2015 in sherry. And we're going to have a RØDE 2013, which is a charred cask. And as RØDE being the peated make that comes from the Glenturret, you can Google that, find that very easily. Their announcement this year is RØDE peated Glenturret will be made no more.
No more.
So if Single Cask Nation has a 2013 RØDE, go ahead and buy it. It didn't say that in the press release, but I read between the lines.
And can I say something about our sherried Lochranza?
Oh, I know what you're going to say about our sherried Lochranza.
Jess poured that for us blind. And if she had told us that was 70s Macallan, I would have believed her, because it was, I thought I had some sort of like crazy legendary whiskey put in my glass. And I thought she was like, well, I missed your birthday last year. I was at your 50th. I didn't get to be at your 51st. So here you go. And when she said, nope, that's just a 9-year-old Lochranza, 9 years in sherry, the fact that it was presenting the way that it had, like, that was legend in a glass. Magic. Holy crap.
Yeah. You made one of your all-encompassing statements when you said that is award-winning. That is award-winning.
Yeah.
We haven't entered it for anything, but that is award-winning.
Yeah. There you go.
Really phenomenal.
All right. Few other things I want to say about the festival. There were some friends that we hadn't seen in a while, right? Mark Watt, Kate Watt. I hadn't seen them since before COVID. I know you got a chance to see them. David Stirk, of course, who put on the festival in conjunction with the folks from Independent Spirits. It was really lovely to see him. Mm-hmm. Jenny Carlson, who, you and I have known just electronically through Facebook and Instagram for the past 15 plus years. We finally got to meet her. Tom Mills is a name. And there are loads of people living on that side of the pond. I can go on and on, but there are people that came from the U.S. Michael and Bonnie Nolan, Paul Berent, Charles Grabitsky came over. Who am I missing? I know I'm missing. Lynn Schatz and her husband.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Elhan. in
Elhan
Chicago
and his
with his
wife.
wife.
Uh, and I know we're missing people, but it was so lovely. I knew we were going to go out and see friends. I didn't expect to have friends come out to see us, and I thought that was really, really special. So I wanted to add that in.
Bonnie traveled with Hamantaschen.
She traveled with Hamantaschen and just started traveling from table to table, just handing out Hamantaschen. For those that don't know, Hamantaschen are these little triangular cookies with fruit filling that are typically served around March time for the Jewish holiday of Purim. Just sweet, delicious cookies.
I'm a poppy seed Hamantaschen guy myself.
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
Poppy seed for the win. Yeah, no, it was great having them roaming around the room and being there in Edinburgh of all places. I had the opportunity to play taxi driver for Elhan. We both came in on the same flight from New York to Edinburgh, unbeknownst to us. I heard my name called at baggage claim. I turned around and there was Elhan. He was on his way to get an Uber. I was on my way to pick up a rental car. It was 7:30 a.m. on a Thursday. And I said, Elhan, let me drive you to your hotel. And he was like, no, you don't have to do that. I was like, honestly, while it's nice to help you, it'll give me something to do because they're not going to let me check into my hotel. So, and then when they didn't let me check into my hotel, I texted you. By that point, you'd landed. What was this? 2 hours later, 3 hours later?
Yeah.
And I said, hey, hold fire. I'm going to come get you. And then I came and got you in the car as well. So yeah, I was playing taxi driver. The good kind, not the Robert De Niro kind, on a Thursday in Edinburgh in March. Yeah.
You were the best Uber driver I had that entire trip.
I let you drive in the front seat, that's why. And I had fruit pastels. And a bottle of water. I greeted you with a bottle of water. I have learned from the best Uber drivers. No extra charge.
No. Oh man, I'll tell you that was a good time. It was good to get out. You had mentioned this on the outset of this season, and I think towards the end of last season. The season 9 would be a time where we're going to go out and be in front of people more, and it's nice to have these sessions where we get to just sort of regroup, rehash, relive some of those memories. There's definitely more to share. We did a whole heck of a lot more, but I'm going to save some of that for a later episode. For now, I want to invite people to, if you want to reach out to us, you can send us emails, info@singlecastnation.com, of course. And what else? What else should we be telling people, Jason?
I would look out for the Tormore 10 and the Ardnamore Competed 9 dropping on the 27th at singlecastnation.com. That is imperative. Subscribe to the Singlecast Nation YouTube channel. Look for the global bottlings that are starting to appear on UK shelves and will hopefully soon be in Germany and then going farther afield.
Yep. And one other thing, we still have a handful of bottles of our Kosher for Passover rum. So if you keep Kosher for Passover, or even if you're just looking for a new rum and you want that, we have that on our website, $75 a bottle. The holiday is coming mid-April. I mean, if you keep for the holiday, then you know when it's coming. So go ahead and place your order so it can be delivered for the holiday.
And I said this in one of our tasting videos that we did, but I have purchased 2 of those rums with my own money, sent them to my brother and sister-in-law in San Diego, and sent them to cousins in New Jersey. It's a phenomenal selection. And it's a rum. It's a sipping rum. It's a cocktail rum. It's a damn good rum. $75 for a cask strength is
Right.
a fantastic price. So like we started celebrating the nation today's episode, we closed celebrating the nation. $75 rum is done for the nation.
There you go. Yeah. Let's close on that. Cheers, Jason.
Cheers.
And cheers, listener.
Cheers, nation.